Welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with Investing News Network. I'm speaking with Adam O'Brien, founder and CEO of Bitcoin Well, about trends in the Bitcoin space that might be of interest to the investor community. Hello, Adam.
Hello, thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here and welcome. Let's start our conversation with just an overview of Bitcoin Well. Could you talk about the company?
Definitely. Bitcoin Well is a non-custodial Bitcoin ecosystem. And we've been around for over 10 years in the space now, which has been great. We started off with Bitcoin ATMs, which is which was at the time the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin. You could trade cash for Bitcoin. Today, we operate over 280 Bitcoin ATMs across Canada. We've also been developing our online Bitcoin portal. For the better part of the last year, we deployed it in Q4, late Q4 2022. And today it's a platform that enables Canadians to buy, sell, and use Bitcoin as a replacement for their bank. So they can buy and sell Bitcoin, obviously, but you can also use Bitcoin to pay your bills or to buy a gift card to your favorite retailer, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what we are kind of making the forefront or the center of our ecosystem as we drive down towards making Bitcoin usable.
Right. So Bitcoin has evolved, I guess, since it was first introduced. Can you talk about some of the current trends in the Bitcoin space and how they're impacting your business strategy?
Yeah, currently we're seeing, I think, Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain kind of decoupling or splitting. I think when we first started in this industry, Bitcoin and crypto were kind of one and the same, and blockchain was a big piece of that. We're seeing Bitcoin separate from crypto. That's obvious right now today, and how the SEC is going after some of these large platforms in the US for selling coins that aren't Bitcoin. And then we're seeing blockchain. Blockchain really has been overhyped. It's basically just a database. And so I think finally here we are, 15 years after Bitcoin's advent, is the population, the governments, and the regulators understanding that Bitcoin is a protocol that drives value long term, and the other tokens are not. And so I think part of that trend, and it helps us and is very good for our business. We've been non-custodial since day one. What that means is we don't hold consumer funds at any point in the transaction. When we when we have the customer funds, we immediately deliver the customer's Bitcoin directly to their Bitcoin address. And so that's a key distinction. That's what makes us so safe to use as a platform. And today, in a world where crypto exchanges are melting down, the banking system in the US is melting down, we're seeing that no institution is safe. And the safest place for your money, or for a consumer, or for a customer's money, is in their direct control. And that's what we're enabling through our business.
Right. And so we can flesh that out a little bit. Why is self-custody of Bitcoin important these days?
It prevents the ability for other people to take control of your money. And we're very used in this day and age to other people being in control of our money. From day one, we're taught, you aren't smart enough to handle money. Give it to an investment advisor, give it to the bank, put it in a savings account. That's transferred to now, if you don't hold your money, or if you don't give your money to the bank, it's not very usable. I've told this story 100 times before. I was walking down the street of quite a while ago and trying to buy a sandwich, and I had $50 in my pocket in cash, and they wouldn't. I couldn't spend the $50. They told me they didn't have change for after I bought the sandwich, and it drove me nuts. I couldn't believe it. Cash in my pocket is truly the only form of money that I have full control over, and I don't even have full control over the monetary policy, but just even how it's handled, and I couldn't spend it. And it made me realize just how important it is that we do have control of our money, because when your money is held by others in either a banking institution or a crypto exchange, you're exposed to the decisions of the people who are in control of that bank, who are in control of that money. And then further to that, you're exposed to, frankly, government overreach. And if the government decides, oh, hey, we don't like this individual, or we don't like this concept, then who will the platform protect? Their best interests or their customers? And when you use a platform like Bitcoin Well, you aren't forced to make that decision, right? You immediately give us money, and then we immediately give you Bitcoin, and it all happens virtually instantaneously, reducing the risk of either company malfeasance or negligence or government overreach. And I think that's a net benefit for consumers and frankly how money should be handled.
There's also this trend of ATM consolidation in Canada. Can you talk about, I guess, first of all, for those for those in the investors community that's not familiar with how this whole Bitcoin ATM dynamic works, can you sort of provide a brief explanation of that and this trend of consolidation?
Bitcoin ATM enables an individual to walk up with cash, fiat money in their hand, scan a Bitcoin address, insert the cash, and then receive Bitcoin. This is the fastest way to buy Bitcoin because you're right there. And so I think that there's other features that are empowered by Bitcoin ATMs because we use cash. There's a lot less of a risk of fraud, and therefore, while we remain in compliance with our MSB, our money service business requirements, we don't have to request all of the information from the customers that you would in an online platform, for example, where you're heavily at risk to fraud. So there's lots of consumer benefits from ATMs at that point. They've become synonymous with quick, easy access to Bitcoin, done while also preserving some levels of privacy, which is fantastic and a massive ethos in the Bitcoin industry. What we've seen for the last couple of years is we've seen a consolidation happening as these machines kind of transition from new and emerging into a business and into a large scalable business. Much like we've done in 2021, we were one of the first Bitcoin ATM operators to bring their Bitcoin ATM technology in-house. That was with our acquisition of Ghost Lab. That enables us to scale quickly and work on our partner program, which empowers other businesses to buy the hardware. We simply install our software and then operate that software. So we get to grow a lot faster without the capex that's involved in the industry. And then further from that, Bitcoin ATMs, as I said, as we move from this kind of niche business into more of the mainstream, the single operators where it's more of a side hustle, less of a career, less of a business, their profit margins get squeezed and it becomes a lot less desirable to operate that business. We're still bound by compliance regulations. We're still bound by money service business regulations. We're still bound by customer support and marketing and working capital and liquidity and all the rest of the things that come with operating the business. All of a sudden, operating 10 or 15 machines is, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. And so we're hoping to do, and just like we did in 2020 in advance of going public, we're looking forward to going out in 2023 and 2024 and continuing to roll up the industry, adding those good networks, those good Bitcoin ATM networks into our operational flow so that we have the ability to grow and expand while bringing on some more partners and some more investors and more shareholders into the mix.
And speaking of expansion, I understand you are expanding to the US. Can you talk about what that entails and what it means for the US market?
Yes, we're very excited to be expanding into the US. The United States is a very difficult jurisdiction to expand from Canada into because the regulations are quite different. So we found a reliable partner with good banking and payment processing, and we're able to work with them to integrate their compliance, payments, banking infrastructure into our portal and offer our portal to our US customers and our soon to be US customers. The US market is absolutely massive. We've seen the likes of Coinbase and Binance both be targeted by the SEC. We saw Binance lose their banking relationship recently. We are an absolute gold mine for consumers who want to buy Bitcoin in the fastest way and safest way possible while just simply connecting their bank and buying Bitcoin with self-custody by default. And that's the platform that we're going into the States with, which I'm very excited. We've been in beta in the States now for a couple of weeks. The transactions are starting to trickle in. We have our wait list that we've been slowly adding people, making sure the transactions are happening. It can properly scale. The liquidity is good. And then we'll be ready to turn it on, hopefully by the end of this month, for the majority of the American citizens, which I'm very, very excited about. Because up until now, Americans haven't had a self-custody by default platform where they can buy Bitcoin and then immediately receive Bitcoin in their wallets without any extra steps or withdrawals in the middle.
Where do you see, I wonder if you could provide your thoughts, like where do you see this whole Bitcoin dynamic, moving forward in terms of going more mainstream? Like, is it replacing or sort of being operated side by side, the normal currency? Like, what are your thoughts on sort of future for this?
I think for the next decade, it continually will, barring a massive economic collapse, which frankly isn't out of the question. I think that Bitcoin will continue to work alongside. At the end of the day, what's important for the next 10 years is Bitcoin usability. 10 years ago in 2013, when I set up the business, I was looking to make Bitcoin accessible and understood. Today, the understandability still holds true, but Bitcoin is very, very accessible today. I mean, right now, I can send an e-transfer, have Bitcoin directly on my wallet in less than 30 seconds. There's nothing more accessible than that. What we're working on now is making Bitcoin usable. As Bitcoin becomes more and more attractive to hold in your self custody, to hold a portion of your wealth in your custody in Bitcoin, it's going to be important that there's places for people to be able to use that Bitcoin and reap what they sow, so to speak. And so platforms like our bill payment platform, like our gift card platform, as we look to integrate what integrating card payments might look like in a Bitcoin ecosystem. Those are the important next steps as we march down towards making Bitcoin usable and adding that on top of the accessibility. And then eventually we just look like a bank. We look like a platform where you can use money, store money, and then obviously earn money. And all of that done where Bitcoin Well gives you access to the Bitcoin protocol, and then you have full control on how you how you use the platform, which is the goal.
Sounds great. That's very interesting indeed. Well, thank you for spending the time to speak to me today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, and looking forward to continuing this journey.
And thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time for another engaging conversation on CEO Insights.